1, go!
We are Paul Leonard.
That's me.
And Bryce Graskowski. And this
that was
is
me.
20 Minutes of Fitness.
Hey, buddy. We're back again this week.
Yeah, buddy.
Pretty sure we're not going to get to podcast next week because you're going to be working.
That's right. I will not be here.
Although I might be able to drag you out during the day at some point. We'll see.
That's true. You never know.
But,
that's going to be interesting, sleeping.
Yeah. So on that note, we're going to talk today about the sport of CrossFit.
Yeah, so this week we have
Bryce, a little bit bitter. Warning, if you don't want to hear a rant, just shut it off now. Like and subscribe.
This week we have the CrossFit semifinals starting.
Semifinals.
Which are already starting to be a disaster. So next week you'll have every podcaster in CrossFit bitching about how awful they were. They already are.
And so to get to the semifinals,
yep,
they had to do the open,
yep,
be in the top 10%.
Yep.
Then they had to do the quarterfinals, be in the top 10% again.
Nah, it's like 40. It's all different every continent. So in North America, you had to be in the top 120.
Okay.
So other continents, it's like top 40, 30, something like that.
So you had to be up at the upper end of that, though.
Yep.
Let's
top 1% probably.
1%. Okay.
Yeah. So
and then after that, it's going to go to the semifinals. And
no, this is
semifinals are a live competition.
Yes,
that
we're
used to
live
be
now.
their own individual competitions, right? So they've gone and taken like Granite Games and whatever else.
They used to be called the Sanctionals.
But before that, they were just competitions that people just held for their own.
Yep.
And then they were able to, Glassman gave the opportunity to become Sanctionals.
Right.
And then now they've just cut out all the other people and just doing pros.
Yes. At those competitions? I think so.
I believe that's why Wodapalooza was like, no, we like the money we bring in from a big revenue event.
Dubai and Wodapalooza also were outside the season. So they would have had to move their dates, and they were like, "Nah, we're good with this." And I think it was a smart move.
I agree. I think that they're big enough on their own to not need to be a part of this.
The only unfortunate part about that is that Wodapalooza they have a little more experience than some of these, so they might have put on a better show.
But they do a great job on their own. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's what's going on next, and then the top whatever
3
from each
or whatever, 4, 5.
The top few.
It all depends on the region. Yeah.
So the top few from each are going to go to the CrossFit Games.
Yep. 40. Is it 40 and 40? 40 men, 40 women, something close to that.
And then there's also age group qualifier coming up right away, right? Where the qualifier was a month ago.
Yep.
And then next week is their competition, which is a live competition as well.
No, that's all online.
Oh, it is online again.
It's online once again, yep.
And then the top of that will move on to the games.
Yeah, so unlike the...
Not that anybody cares.
Yeah, unlike the online ones, like the Open, the quarterfinals, the semifinals for the age group, they're all standardized. Everybody's doing the same workouts.
Yeah.
Even throughout the entire season, the age group is doing all the same workouts, right?
Yeah.
The only people that aren't are the people that are in the Open age group when they get to semifinals. It's the only time that you're not doing standardized stuff. So we have 2 or 3 events this week, and they're all doing different workouts, which is nice for viewers because you don't have to watch the same workout over and over, and I like that. But it's causing a lot of issues in the CrossFit world because certain people are getting through not being tested on certain things, or poor programming sending the wrong people through, even though so far the CrossFit programming this year has been poor anyway. But at least it's poor for everybody.
It's consistent.
It's consistently poor.
Regardless of whether it's just a cardio workout.
Whereas this week,
you still have to prove the best cardio.
The one in the Mid-Atlantic one, not the Mid-Atlantic Games, but the, I just forgot the name of it. It's got some weird name. But anyway, that one is horribly programmed. Like, so bad that they released it, and Ben Smith, the nicest guy on earth, came out with a hour-long podcast of like, if you people need help, call me. I will help you. Like, this is a disaster. It's so bad. It's like, dude, they're doing 150 wall balls in one workout with a rowing or ski erg.
Okay.
The next workout they're doing, it's with a ski erg of 150 and GHDs.
Okay, so blow everything up.
Blow everything
Why
out,
not?
especially your abs and your legs and everything. The next workout is 100 thrusters. It's double Jackie. So 2,000 meter row with 100 thrusters. What? That's the same workout in a row of the same movements. What the fuck
Just get the Coca-Cola covered pee out because it's going to be wrapped up.
Good luck. Yeah, all these people going as hard as they can. Okay. So that's why I kind of feel like there needs to be a standardization of the CrossFit season. And CrossFit, the sport of CrossFit as a whole needs some sort of standardization. The constantly varied and unknowable, while that's good for workouts, but it's not really good for someone that's training for a certain aspect of this, like myself and yourself. We would generally be training to get through the open and try to make the next round, right? And you know what to expect in the open. What is it?
Nowadays, cardio.
It's always been pretty much cardio.
That's true.
A little bit of skill, right? If you didn't have certain things,
there were certain aspects
you
of
got
it.
Stuck.
One thing that was really a disheartening thing for a big guy this year is they got rid of all the stuff that was advantageous to being a big guy.
Yeah, no rower.
So
no
you get rid
ball.
of the rower and the wall ball.
Yeah.
Those are like the two things that kind of equalized it a little bit for me.
Absolutely. They used them as an equalizer.
And they were done that way,
Yeah,
exactly.
purposely.
And then, so it like all of a sudden there's a handstand push-up workout that I'm going to get wrecked at.
Yep.
But then the next workout's a bunch of wall balls, and it's like, all right, I can swing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in now, like, I just have to be that much fitter.
Yeah, you have just cardio and cardio.
I have to out cardio the small guys because it's harder for me.
Right, and that's exactly what happened.
Which is fine, but it is what it is.
To make the top 10%, it really doesn't matter if you're in the top 5 or 6% because you're going to make it anyway because you have much more cardio than those other guys. So when we're talking 10%, okay, a lot of people are going to get through that should be there. And obviously at the bottom there's going to be, but those people generally aren't going to do the quarterfinals anyway. It's an extra $50. They're going to step out. And that's exactly what happened.
And the other thing they cut out completely this year in the open was any weight of any noticeable kind.
And that's
so then it's like in the 315 deadlift.
Yeah.
Okay, a 315 deadlift is enough that like it's not heavy.
But it's a separate.
Some people that are like they're going to get there, but they're going to struggle at that point.
You absolutely need separation.
That definitely helps.
In each stage of this, the stage itself is a separator, and that's obvious because you're only taking certain numbers, right? So, and then even in the games, you have separators throughout the days.
Yep.
You need separators. And in the open this year, there wasn't a separator. Like there was a muscle up at some point, but it's like, okay, if you didn't have it and you did really well at cardio, you still made that top 10%. It didn't separate you out from anything. So to me, the open needs to be a separator of what? RX athletes and non-RX athletes.
Yeah.
And give everybody a list. Like, hey, like take overhead squat and squat snatch. So you're testing overhead.
Like to see it done more like what we see in the local comps where it's like if you're going to be RX, you need to be able to do these things.
Exactly.
If you can't overhead squat 135, don't show up because it will be programmed.
Every local comp does that.
Yeah.
And what's the and the argument of like, oh well, they're just trying to get people into the open. Okay, if you told people this is RX and you keep it every year, you leave it that way. You don't need to change it. The workouts could be different, but it's like, okay, 1 year, because we're going to test overhead squat and mobility. 1 year you could test the snatch. Let's say for a guy, 95-pound squat snatch. If you don't have that, there's no way you could call yourself RX. And maybe the next year you change it up to its sister movement, the overhead squat, 115, a little heavier because you don't have the dynamics of the snatch. If you can't overhead squat 115, maybe even 135.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, you're not.
I think you better
athlete.
be able to squat snatch 135. You can call yourself an RX athlete.
Yeah,
really.
I think so.
I mean, that's not challenging
at all
for anybody who's
for the 6%
in that. Yeah.
Then like a muscle up, you have to have a ring muscle up. I don't care if it's just one. And the other part about it is if you don't hit everything RX and you do one workout scaled, one movement scaled.
Yeah, you're not an RX athlete. That's how it used to be.
Everything should be in the scaled. Like anybody that did all 5 or what do we have? 3 or 4 workouts now, RX should be above anybody that did anything scaled because you are a scaled athlete. You don't and the argument of like, well, then they're just not going to do it. But here's the thing. If you told me I'm not an RX athlete because I can't do a muscle up. Next year, I will have a muscle up because I don't want to be, if there's one thing holding me back, like double unders is a good one. You should be able to do X amount of double unders.
Yeah.
If it's a 10-minute workout and there's 100 double unders with 2 other movements, you
Those
should be
doubles
able
shouldn't take more than a few minutes.
the doubles, you need to be able to do that many doubles, or you don't have that. You're not RX. Like in the gym on a normal day, you would be scaling stuff. You're scaled. You're a scaled athlete. And I don't mean, every workout you should be able to RX everything to day, but it should be based on like maybe weight takes you out of it at the affiliate, or sheer numbers. You're like, man, I just can't do 300 double unders in a day. I'm going to do it scaled, right? But
why don't they just start out the Open of King Kong every year?
King, that's such a stupid workout. and yeah, nobody would be.
I'd do really well.
So few RX athletes. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the Open. And I don't know what that checklist would be. I didn't really sit down and try to think of it, but like the overhead squat and the full snatch thing is definitely key. Some sort of a pull up. You make, can you do five kipping pull-ups? I don't know. Can you do a ring muscle up? Can you do a bar muscle up, which you could maybe just test one? I think you have to test the
you have to test.
Yeah.
But I don't think you necessarily, if you can do a muscle up, you can do a pull up.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nobody. So if you can do one bar muscle up and one ring muscle up, you better be able to do pull ups and chest to bars.
And there's nothing wrong.
And if not, you shouldn't be doing a muscle up.
No, exactly.
Then that's a problem.
True. And there's nothing wrong with when the Open comes out, they're like, hey, workout 23.1 is first, you show your capacity to overhead squat 135 pounds for at least 1 rep. Part 2 is the WOD. Here, we're going to put 75-pound overhead squats with pull-ups. It doesn't even have to be that same number, but you have to show capacity in some way, shape, or form instead of, here's a 75-pound overhead squat. Cool. That's where we are right now with this season. In the quarterfinals, we had a 95-pound barbell. Whoop-de-fuck. Everybody that makes the quarterfinals can do a 95-pound barbell.
Yeah, that could be a dumbbell and it would still be okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like there was no capacity of being able to clean 140 pounds to your shoulders from the ground in any way, shape, or form until these semifinals come. Like, that's a problem. Like, you didn't test people. You're sending the wrong people to the semifinals.
In the end, though, I think it all really comes down to their objective. And, like, as far as CrossFit goes, and I see what you're saying is that you're talking all about the sport of CrossFit.
Yeah.
So if you look at the sport as the Open, I guess, semifinals, quarterfinals, CrossFit Games, then when you look at it from purely that perspective, then I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that it's not a bad thing to have like an Open that isn't intended as that.
Yep.
That is, they want as many people as possible to do it together. And if that's the case, then I think honestly they didn't do that bad a job of it because nothing was hard. Nothing was complicated. It was super easy for everybody to get through it.
Super easy.
You look at the list, the guys who, there's nobody that is going to go to the games that didn't make it in that top 10%.
Obviously, you have to make the top 10%.
There's nobody that's sitting at spot 11 that wasn't going to go anyway.
That's a cop-out. That's like saying, okay, here.
It makes that time for the sport.
It's a waste of fucking time. And
I agree with that.
And the athletes are coming out and saying so.
No, it obviously is for them. It's clearly a waste of time.
It's a waste of time, so much so that, like Rich Froning said, if you do any Open workout twice, you're not allowed back in the barn for 2 months. Like, because it's garbage. He's like, don't do garbage for ego, right? And it's like, you can't have the top people in the sport not being tested at all. They were not tested one fucking iota.
Nothing in the Open. I agree.
They could have did all.
It didn't need to be there for them.
They could have did all 3 of those workouts in a row with a running clock. And they could have taken with the running clock a 2-minute break between each. Still make the 10% because it was a joke. It was like that one workout where Rich, it was the last workout with the thruster, the 15 muscle ups. Rich goes, yeah, You guys have done this if you do Mayhem programming. That's their normal affiliate programming. If you've done Mayhem programming, you've done this series. He goes, you've done it in rounds, because that would be one round of their workout, because that was one round of a workout. There was no volume of anything in it. Like, so you can't have that. You can't have the top being like, this is just a nuisance. And why do you have scaled? Why do you have a scaled division?
Well, and if they're going to set it up the way they did, then there isn't a reason for it. I agree with that.
So
if they're going to do it, so it's purely a rah-rah.
You would never ever run that competition in an affiliate. And if you did, you would label it as a scaled competition for beginners. RX athletes do not apply. And people do that.
Because, that'd be like Festivus games. Because you're right. It's a waste of time to show up for a competition for that.
People that are good doing that garbage, because it's a waste of time. So that's why you have a scaled division. And to me, if I get away with something in the open every year, I'm not going to work on it. If all of a sudden you tell me that I'm a scaled athlete because I no longer have a 135 squat snatch, next year I will have a 135 squat snatch. Or if I don't, for whatever reason, maybe because my arm's not doing too good, guess what? So I'm a scaled athlete still. But if you don't tell me that makes me a scaled athlete and I could still be in that RX group, I'm probably not going to work on it. And that's a piss poor way to make the sport get better. Yeah, and you're not helping the sport at all. And you're completely abandoning CrossFit methodology at that point, because CrossFit methodology is about finding your weakness, working whatever makes that a weakness, and fixing it. You're not fixing anybody by giving them fucking 100 burpees with a barbell so light that my 70-year-old mother could have RX'd the men's weight.
Yeah.
You know? And then the quarterfinals for the it needs to be the same thing, just higher stage gymnastics, right?
Yeah, more reps,
and heavier barbell. You're just trying to, now you got to weed the people out by a little bit more skill. You know, like maybe in the open, we only worry about handstand push-up, but in the quarterfinals, we're going to add handstand walk.
To me, I really think,
you know, like you could have stages.
To me, I think that they just need to have the open be its own separate thing that has nothing to do with the sport if they're going to try to make it an all-inclusive thing.
But you still need the open for the sport. You have to have the open.
But you could have the semifinals be that.
Who goes?
Sorry, the quarterfinals.
Who goes to it?
The one before.
Who goes to it?
The RX athletes.
So you have a RX checklist, and that's the only people that get to do the quarterfinals.
Yes, and then you do that as an online competition. That's actually hard.
So the quarterfinals would now be called the Open, and then you would have a semifinals and a games. So you would go back to what we had last year.
That's what I'm getting at. I would go to
My point is the Open is the Open of the game season, no matter what you call it or who you let play, is the Open. So that's what I'm saying. You only let the RX athletes join the Open as of beginning to the games. The other people want to join anyway, right? That's the scaled athletes.
I just think that
different WODs.
The Open in this year's case is there as a marketing gimmick.
Well, I think they've lost.
And then the next phase is kind of really the Open.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the way they intended it.
But
really
the problem is the quarterfinals weren't much better. So.
And even the quarterfinals, they were harder though than the Open was.
Yeah, for the individuals, they had one heavy barbell.
So like if the individuals quarterfinals was the Open workouts,
right,
that would have been a decent Open.
Yeah. Yes.
And then the top people of that go to an in. And the top people of that go to the...
Sure.
So that's what it used to be.
That's
so
what
the Open is just there for
wasting time.
Media.
Yeah. But I don't think people are going to do the Open. You're going to lose more people than you're going to gain, I think. And that showed this year. They had, 10% more than the previous year, but that's 10% over a year of COVID. And you had less in the United. You had less than in the United States. You're home. You have a problem. You got a real problem. And then semifinals, you need to have all those the same.
Yeah, they should have the same workouts. I agree. It seems crazy that you could qualify at the Atlas Games or at Granite Games doing completely different workouts against completely different crews.
Yeah.
Like you go to some of these workouts or some of these competitions, and it's going to be stacked fields where you're in the games.
It's crazy.
And then you're going to go to other ones where there isn't an athlete that anybody's heard of.
Yep. And the workouts will favor certain people because honestly, it's hard to program for this stuff. And you have to have a season, a story, right? You have to have something that builds on the previous thing. And we don't have that when like Paul Leonard is doing the semifinals at the Torian Pro, and he doesn't really care he has no idea what's going to go on at the games. He really wasn't paying attention to quarterfinals. So he's going to make maybe he does a great job of a conducive test over the 3 days. But maybe this other guy, he's putting fucking 150 wall balls and a ski erg, and then he's putting a barbell thruster and a 2,000 meter calorie row and testing the same damn thing in 4 WODs, like, because that's what we have. Like, you can't have bad programmers. You can't find out after the fact.
Well, and then also there's going to be so much bias towards the different programmers.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a huge problem too. It's
Yeah.
like you're going to see something like the Granite Games is going to have all their programming
They
based
like to
around
go heavier, right?
what they
Granite
want to
Games?
see.
Yeah.
They like to
Yeah.
put on a show.
Yeah. I
Whereas
like
in
that.
other looking to just crush people, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's the only reason you would
Apparently.
program that many wall balls
So-
and thrusters.
And I like the I always call it the golf model. Every course is different, but the winners go to the championship or the Masters, whatever the case is. And I always like that model, but it doesn't work because there's just not good programming. You almost need the same guy programming all of them. Like, make them a little bit different, or a different,
Yeah.
a team of people. Like you got 5 people in the room. You're in charge of this one. You're in charge of this one. But we're all going to talk about all of them.
Another easy way that they could do it, because programming isn't, it's not like they can't just get programming done.
Yeah.
They could create of, let's call it 50 WODs.
Yeah.
And then
yeah. Absolutely.
So you can use any WODs you want, but you have to pick from these 50.
Yeah, and you have to do long, short, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you have to do at least one long, one short, one whatever.
Yeah.
But you could do, every one of these competitions has to pick from this list.
Another way, too, is you have a list, and like the RX checklist, but at this point, for semifinals, it needs to be a lot fucking heavier, a lot more. And it could be like, okay, you have to do all these movements in some way, but we need to make sure these people have capacity in all these. And they kind of did that this year with their bumpers, and their 2 standardized workouts, which were horrible. And I think the lift one is just so you see the complex that they have to do.
Yeah, it's just
3
so
cleans, 2 front squats, and a jerk. I think that's because we're going to see, which is going to be exciting, at the CrossFit Games, a 1 rep max clean and jerk. They didn't want anybody else to get that because they want to be the ones that show a CrossFitter pumping 405 over their head.
Yeah.
Which I agree
That makes
with.
sense.
But instead just say, hey guys, if you're going to do a complex, do not do a 1 rep max. No 1 rep maxes.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to do a 1 rep max, you can do a 1 rep max snatch. Don't do a 1 rep max clean and jerk. Or shit, make the lift if you're going to do a 1 rep max clean and jerk. And obviously it's speculation if they do. Tell everybody, instead of making the lift all this ridiculous complex that's not going to be that exciting, hey guys, everybody do a 1 rep max snatch. Then that makes semifinals super exciting because there's nothing more exciting than a 1 lift. And then it makes the games exciting because you get to see the clean and jerk. And now you know what those people's capacity is for their 1 rep max and 1 rep max. And boom, you've now checked off weightlifting off your old list of sports, which is what the game should be, a list of sports that we're going to show how good these guys are at this sport. Because I really don't care how good Justin Medeiros is at CrossFit. I already know he's super good. They're all super good. I want to know how good he is against a triathlete. I want to know how good he is against a swimmer. I want to know how good he is at a weightlifter, a power lifter.
We were talking about before the show, like when they had the throwing the ball, like who can throw the bar the farthest. It's
Those
like,
are great.
That's a good test.
Test of skills.
I don't care how good of an athlete you are. That accuracy and skill required for that is a different thing. I'm not great at throwing a ball. I'm big and strong, but I still can't throw a ball very well. If I knew that might come up,